alone. So I was discussing with this man. He tells me, I'm an atheist. I said, okay, so what do you believe? He says, I believe when we die, we're just returned to nature. So I said, okay, when you die, what have you told those whom you leave behind to do? He says, I will be cremated. I will be cremated. So I had a beautiful discussion with him, explaining to him the damage and the harm of being cremated. He was not happy initially, but then he said, wow, you got me thinking. What did I tell him? I told him, brother, you see, we are buried. We are taught how to be buried from the time of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. We believe that we were created from soil, and the evidence for that is when we are returned to the soil, we decompose completely into the soil, such that the remnants, there is almost nil or nothing. You know, there is ajbud dhanab. The hadith speaks of one small portion of the spine that remains in order to resurrect a person, but Allah does not even need that. But it speaks of that. So when we are buried, have you noticed we leave a little gap of oxygen? What are we taught? We were taught just leave that gap. People say, oh, it's for this reason and that reason. One of the reasons is, in order to decompose, you need oxygen. And in order for that oxygen to be enough, more than 2 times the size of your body is actually left with the oxygen in it, so that the body is decomposed. When you dig a grave, a proper grave, after some time, you will find everything has returned to the soil. But when there has been a mass grave where people were buried without oxygen remaining, or without a portion of oxygen, their bodies do not decompose thoroughly. In fact, you will see the skulls and skeletons years later in a mass grave. Have you thought of it? This man says, but I'm going to be cremated. I said, now when you cremate a person, what are you doing? You are applying tremendous heat and tremendous pressure to your body. We will not talk right now about whether you can feel it or not, but I will tell you that will not return to the soil. The reason is it becomes ash. Ash and soil are 2 different things completely. I said, but the point I'd like to ask you is, how do you know that you're not going to feel when people are burning you? He says, because medicine tells us that you don't feel anymore. I said, what if someone has felt it and they could not come back to tell you that we felt it? He says, I'll see when I go. I said, it will be too late. No answer. I'll see when I go. It's too late, because people are saying, okay, you're going to burn me. And I start saying, but you want the punishment already whilst you're still leaving the world, not even got to the life after, the hereafter, so to speak, in the proper sense. And then he looks at me and he says, but you've got me thinking. And I told him something else. I said, okay, my brother, listen to me. Let's say, for example, what you are saying and what I am saying. Put it to the litmus test. If what you are saying is true, then when we die, we will just be decomposed and that's it, everything is over. What is the possibility and probability of what I am saying to be true? Is there any probability? He says, no, no chance. I said, okay, when I die, if I was a good man who worshipped whoever made me, I call him Allah. I call him Allah, Allah the worshipped one. And I say He is one, alone. No worship to be rendered to anyone besides Al-Khaliq, besides the one who made me. I put my head on the ground for Him. I render an act of worship for Him. Whatever I do is for Him. So if I were to worship my Maker and say, oh you who made me, have mercy on me. Oh you whom I am going to return to when I die, have mercy on me. So that is my statement on one hand, and on your side, you do whatever you want and you're not prepared and whatever. When we die, if what you said was right, I did not lose anything because I would have just died and decomposed. This is just a statement to make people think. If what you said was right, I did not lose anything because I decomposed. But if what I have said was right, you have lost everything. It's a fact. So why don't you just come and adopt what I've said? Because even in that case, you will lose nothing. Amazing. So follow some rules, follow some regulations and continue to say, "Oh, you whom I am going to return to, have mercy upon me the day I return to you." When you return to someone, like you are saying, there may be a probability according to them, but you would have lost everything if what I said was true. He said, "Well, I'm going to think about it and think about it seriously." He says, "You're the first person who's made me shaky in what I believe." I said, "You know what? That means you have not spoken to enough people, because even a child will tell you that there is a maker. Even a child will tell you that there is a maker.